Morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, 6 strategies to keep your audience more engaged when you're public speaking. The reason I'm doing this webinar is a lot of people focus on their confidence. They're really worried about their nerves and their anxiety. They focus on being more confident. And then others focus on their content. Their content king's really important. But neither of those matter if you don't get engagement with the people who matter, which is your audience. Here's my core message. If you're not confident, if your content is not 100% perfect, you don't know it off by heart, and you engage your audience and make a difference, then you've done a fantastic job. If you're really confident and know your content 100% and the audience are disengaged, then you've had no impact. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Dhu, public speaking trainer and coach, and today I'm going to go through a series of strategies to help you, to give you some tips so that the next time you present, you can be more engaging with your audience. Have more of a two-way conversation rather than just that telling. So let's get started. So, title of webinar, 6 strategies to keep your audience engaged when public speaking. Just do that share again. Screen 1, share. All right. Those of you who've done my webinars before will know, please take notes, ask questions during the webinar, ask questions after the webinar. Participate, apply to your own personal circumstances. Have you got something coming up? Have you got a presentation where you want to be more engaging and you'll be able to do 1 or 2 of those things that I'm sharing with you today? And as always, this webinar is being recorded. So should you wish to review it, it'll be available for you later on. So let's get started. And I mentioned 6 strategies. I think there's actually 7. So I've thrown in a bonus strategy or a combination. The first strategy that I like to use is tell stories. And these are real stories. These are your lived experiences. These are people you've worked with. These are your case studies. These are the overcoming adversity despite all odds. These are the showing light at the end of the tunnel when everyone is feeling this is impossible, this is too big, we're not going to be able to achieve that. And if you show them the way forward, you show them an opportunity to achieve their dreams, their goals, or overcome their problems, then they're going to love you and be engaged. Now, telling stories must be targeted and must highlight an important point that is of value to the people in the room. If you tell a great story and there's no point, you've missed the mark. If you tell a great story with a strong point and your audience, don't care, then once again, you're not going to be engaging. So the stories must interweave and relate to the expectations of the people in the room. So tell stories. They help you connect with the audience, revealing that little bit of lived experience. So I've done the same journey. So my story of overcoming my fear of public speaking, my story as a person who stutters, helps you, the audience, understand that if you don't have the gift of the gab, if you are a little bit nervous, if your heart rate increases, yep, that doesn't stop you from doing a great job. So what stories can you use that highlight your points, puts a benefit for the people in the room? That's one strategy to be really engaging. Ask questions of your audience. When you ask questions, people go back into their head and they start to think, they start to process, they start to solve the problem. Ask a question. What would you do in this situation? How would you handle that? Imagine if you had two people in conflict and they're at each other and you're the boss, what are some of the strategies that you might do to resolve that? Ask a contentious question. A contentious question. Clearly, nuclear energy is the way forward. Nuclear energy will bring us to greenhouse gas zero, to carbon footprint zero. All we need is nuclear energy. Now, if you're in the right forum, with a lot of green people, environmental friendly people, the heckles on the back of their neck are going to stand up. They're going to be wide awake. They're going to be engaged. They're going to be angry, ready to jump down your throat. So asking that contentious question and then clarifying and coming up with alternative solutions, but you've got people's attention. This is about engagement. Prompt small discussions. All right, if nuclear energy, not what? If nuclear energy, then what? If not nuclear energy, then what? Get people having a chat. Would anyone like to give me feedback? Anyone got any other suggestions? Now, one of the things with asking people to contribute or share feedback is with a bigger room, you have to be careful because someone with their own agenda may take you down a rabbit hole from which you do not recover. Ask questions. A lot of them can be rhetorical. What would you do in that situation? Imagine, how would you handle this? And people go into their mind, you've got them engaged. And that contentious or that outlandish statement, that confronting question, we don't want to deal with it, but you've got people's attention, you've got them engaged. I think a little bit of controversy can really help with engagement. And if you frame it right and you let people know you're just brainstorming, you're coming up with ideas, and in the end you go with the expected outcome, then you haven't done any harm. But for engagement, feel free to challenge people's expectations and beliefs. Conduct a poll. I'm going to a presentation tonight. There's going to be 150 people in the room, and there's going to be another 100 or so online. I'm the moderator of the Q&A panel, and one of the things we're going to do is use Slido. So people will put all their questions in. I can moderate and see that there's 3 or 4 questions that are similar and ask the questions of the interview panel, of the presentation panel. Conduct a poll. Quick show of hands. Who has any nerves, anxiety around public speaking? Who's a little bit afraid in front of 100, 200, 300, 400 people? Who's ever a poll? This is a poll that you can do. Spark discussion. Turn to the person next to you, have a discussion. But certainly just break up that sitting, that passive listening. As I said, turn to the person next to you, have a conversation, have a chat. The other one is Mentimeter. Poll Everywhere is another one. There's all these easy devices. You just get people to grab their mobile phone. That's my timer. Grab your mobile phone, go to the link, have a quick vote on this issue. So I've now put an issue. I want you to vote. Or do you have any questions? Now you can have a free field. You can type anything in. You can do it can be displayed as a bar graph. What's the number one issue facing you with public speaking? And I might have 10 things. Fear of public speaking. How do I speak without notes? What do I do with my hands? What if my mind goes blank? How do I engage people? How should I start my presentation? How should I end my presentation? What's most important? And invariably with that particular poll, the number one is how can I control my nerves to be more effective? That one generally comes up as the number one poll with 20, 30, 40 people in a room. Use visual age and captivating media. I see people sometimes use cartoons and they have captions, and the cartoon can sometimes describe what the point they're trying to make better than any video that they can see. I speak a lot on nonverbal communication, and I explain things not to do, noisy hands, bouncing your hands up and down. And then I've got a series of videos with audio and the video that show people doing the wrong thing. I also mentioned to avoid stacking boxes. Stacking boxes, people take something from here, then they move it to here. Then there's a box here, but they want to put it on top. And this box shouldn't be there, so we're going to move it down there. And then this box here and that box there. And then all of a sudden we've got a big pile of boxes. And all the time we're presenting, we're just stacking boxes. And some of you that are visual learners are wondering, what is this doing? And I show real people, real speakers that you will have seen on TV, stacking boxes or bouncing their hands up and down with noisy, non-meaningful gestures. What visual aids can you use? Videos, graphs, pie charts. I use a pie chart to demonstrate the percentage of content related to your message, to your voice, and to your nonverbal communication. And the pie graph is quite remarkable and shows the impact and the value of nonverbal communication. Keep people engaged. Break your content into segments. I like to change things up every 5 to 10 minutes. So don't stay too long on one thing. Change it up, change the pace, change your voice. I also use a little model that some of you may have seen in the past, and it goes like this: tell, talk to people, show, put a visual aid up, put a graph up, ask. These are the questions I was talking about. Does that make sense? What would you do in that situation? How would you handle those two people? Share. Would anyone like to comment on that? Would anyone like to give me feedback? Or in a big group, turn to the person next to you. What's been your number one learning so far? Just have that quick chat with the two people. Then I'll go back to, right, more information. Tell. What does that look like? Show. How might that affect you? Ask. What do you think about that? Share. Tell, show, ask, share. I try and cycle through that learning curve, that learning cycle: tell, show, ask, share, every 5 to 10 minutes. This keeps people engaged. The other thing that's important is it caters for whole learning styles. Auditory, tell. Talk to me, Peter. Talk, talk, talk. I love to hear. I learn by listening. Show. What does that look like? Show me a video. Show me a graph. Show me an image. Show me a model. What does that look like? Go and do a flip chart. Ask. How would you handle that? Imagine how that would feel. Turn to the person next to you. Share. That's for the kinesthetic people. So that tell, show, ask, share that I'm cycling, breaking my content into segments every 5 to 10 minutes, is also aiding all learning styles: auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. And of course, it's keeping you engaged. Every time I change things up, right, let's move on to something else. Here's something you're going to find interesting. Every 5 to 10 minutes, and I prefer closer to 5 than to 10, because 10 minutes is a long time and you may have just zoned out. Cycle through that and you'll keep people engaged. Be authentic and relatable. So be the real you. This means share your vulnerability, share your own struggles, your lived experience. And I mentioned stories, but your lived experience gives you credibility, but it also helps engage your audience. Authenticity means you rock up with your bald head, your big nose, your big ears, your bushy beard, your pimples, your warts, your imperfections. And you share your vulnerabilities, you share your doubts. Unfortunately, those leaders or those experts that have gone on a learning curve where everything's gone beautifully, they've never made a mistake, they're not as credible. They're not as authentic as the person who's had some success and then, oops, made a mistake, had a bit more success and then made some mistakes, had more success, then made another mistake. That is the real adult learning curve. And leaders that share, speakers, experts, educators that share those struggles along the way, those real experiences, are going to connect and engage with their audience at a high level. And also speak conversationally. That means have a yarn, have a chat with the people in the room. Don't be too perfect. You don't need to put a plum in your mouth. You are not a radio announcer. You are not reading the 7 p.m. ABC news. So be conversational. Have more of a chat. If you have that attitude, you'll be far more engaging. And here's one thing, certainly for connection, don't lecture people. Don't tell people what to do. I'm not here to show you how to suck eggs. I'm here to have a conversation with you and throw up a few ideas that you may be able to use to help you become more engaging, to help you connect with your audience. And finally, offer opportunities for participation. We've mentioned live polls. You can also do quizzes, break into groups, do a little bit of group work, have some contests. I sometimes get groups of 3 in one of my workshops to come up with all the different scenarios where you might have to speak off the cuff. This is thinking and speaking off the cuff. Come up with as many scenarios as a group of 3, or if I've got an even number, a group of 2, that you can. And the group with the highest number wins a prize. And I just give some context. Most groups come up with around 10 to 12 different scenarios of speaking off the cuff. Job interviews, having to introduce yourself, networking, quizzes, meetings where you ask, give an update, appearing as a witness in a court of law, appearing on radio, TV, media, having to do media, special occasions, 21st birthdays, funerals, a whole range, debating. And that's a little contest that I do within that group. And you can see people really engaged. And I just walk around and give them an update. Oh, this group's got 10. How are you going? Have you got 10 yet? No, we're only at 6. So they get a little bit more engaged and they work at it. So offer opportunities for participation. This is also asking questions, as we've mentioned. This is around quizzes, group activities, get together. I have a colleague who uses Lego, and all groups have the same amount of Legos and they have a project and they have to complete a project. There's fairly strict rules. And of course, the contest is quite amazing. And it's about leadership and, problem solving, all of this through the particular project. What can you do to offer people opportunities to participate? We're going to be quick today. In summary, as I said, 6 strategies. I've got 7. Tell stories. Use real examples. Your case studies. Your successes despite all odds. Your overcoming adversity. Ask questions. Encourage people to participate. Ask questions. What would you do in this situation? Rhetorical questions. Contentious questions. Conduct a poll. Mentimeter. Poll everywhere. Slido. Use visual aids. I love to run videos that demonstrate what I'm saying, demonstrate what to do and what not to do. Break your content into segments. Tell, show, ask, share. Every 5 to 10 minutes. Be authentic, be genuine. Don't try and be a punce. Don't try and be perfect. And offer opportunities for participation. That's the summary of tips that I've shared with you today to be more engaging at your next presentation. What have I got coming up? I do have some workshops. Melbourne this Thursday, winning presentation skills. Back to Perth, winning presentation skills and thinking and speaking off the cuff, the workshop I just described to you. Then we head up to Karratha with my 2 signature workshops, winning presentation skills and thinking and speaking off the cuff. For those of you who love webinars, that short, sharp 30 minutes. Today, it's only going to be 25 minutes. What have we got coming up? Monday, the 3rd of November, turning data into impact. So this is for engineers, accountants, people who've got lots of numbers. And numbers don't engage, by the way. So how can you turn that data into impact? How can you turn that data into a message that people engage with, connect with, walk away with, and remember? Really important. And December, no one wants to do a webinar in December. January, 19th of January, the 4 P's of public speaking. Really important to have passion, poise, presence, and your presentation. The 4 P's of public speaking. So they're my next 2 webinars. Here's my contact information. You know this video is being recorded. If you have any further questions, send me an email. And remember that without engagement, the best content may not have impact. Without engagement, the most confident speaker may not have impact. The consequence of not having impact is that you're talking and nothing happens. Nothing changes. So engagement, connection with your audience is so important. This is Peter Dhu, public speaking trainer and coach, wishing you well in your public speaking journey. Bye for now.